Welcome, my fellow twin flames. Today, we are going to hear a private conversation between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And what we're listening for is, what are they feeling? What are they thinking? And what are they not saying? So, each will have their own deck. The universal tarot will be for the divine masculine, the lights used for the divine feminine, and we will connect the two of them through the crystal vision. So, again, this is like what I like to call a private conversation. Um, and I'm going to start with the divine masculine. I'm going to give this a quick shuffle, and they are pre-shuffled. Um, but I like to give it a shuffle with you here also. Okay, so divine masculine. And I'm not even asking any questions. I'm just going to let it unfold because that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling this is one of those readings that are going to unfold. So you want to try to stick around to the end because as it unfolds, I feel like the deeper we get into a reading, um, the more clarity you get. So, divine masculine. Start with the Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords. Could be Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Doesn't have to be. This is the queen that gives that final mic drop. I kind of love this image because I feel like this is a queen who said her piece and then mic drop. Like, that's all I got to say. That's that. Mic drop. Hmm. Could have been a last conversation that was had. And I want you to remember that, and I know this can get confusing, but past life or twin flames definitely have had past lives together. Doesn't mean every lifetime. There's things that our souls want to do, there's adventures that our souls want to take. It's not all about love, though love is a big part of it. Okay. We have the Ace of Wands. Interesting. Interesting. The Ace of Swords. It's like someone's ready to talk. Look at this. And the Knight of Swords. All swords, except for the wand. The Ace of Wands is passion ignited. It's action. It's go time. I love that this knight, who feels like he's bringing in communication, I feel like a divine masculine may be ready to communicate. And just the way I said that, I don't like it. Like, and what I mean by that is I don't want to have that feeling of my life depends on whether I connect with this person or not, because that is not what this journey is about. Matter of fact, it is your experiences, your adventures, the twin flames bring to each other. You know what I mean? So I never feel like there should be waiting. I feel like you should live your life. And, especially if you're spiritually evolving, then it's a must that your twin also spiritually evolve, right? You must be on, excuse me, you must be on the same dimensional um, vibration. But anyway, here comes this knight. It's coming quick. He has to go through the Ace of Swords, truth. That means don't be coming towards me unless you're speaking the truth. But I feel like that's exactly what the Ace of Swords represents. And then the Ace of Wands, the passion. So this definitely feels like someone who remembers. And I don't know why, I just looked over and I thought this was the Empress. Hmm. Well, it may be how the Divine Masculine feels. You know, short but sweet. Like, holy cow. And, here's the thing though. Excuse me. It does feel like, for some of you, the last conversation you had, like someone gave a mic drop. And that may be a good thing. It may be like, these are my boundaries. And that's that. You got to know what you want in love and what you don't want. Being on this journey myself, one of the things that I knew, like when Sam and I reconnected, I knew no matter how much I loved him, that if he was someone who was a drinker, and there's reasons for it for me, I knew I couldn't be with him. No, I didn't want that more than I wanted love. And there were other things, and not major things, but things that I knew I couldn't live with and be happy. So I'd rather be alone. And I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I did tell Sam those things. And maybe that's kind of what it's talking about. Like, this person knows what they want, and that's that. Okay, well, let's go to the feminine. Well, let's go to the feminine. Feels like it's the feminine who gave the mic drop. This knight has a energy about him, a certainty, almost like claiming, but not in an egotistical way, not in a I don't even know. I don't even know how to say it. Like, you are my woman and I am your man. You know that, and I know that. But then this queen, there's something, right? Something happened that made this mic drop, caused this mic drop. And you know what? I have to say, I do a lot of personal readings for twin flames, and uh, I noticed the patterns. And I do feel like when you have, like, if this was energy was together before and there's separation, don't look at it as like, I don't know. I almost feel like there's meant to be, because your souls individually have different adventures, right? Like, they are just as important. And, you know, and that may not, and I have to say another pattern I've noticed is when someone, well, I feel like twin flames, they do kiss a lot of frogs. which is strange because I get this feeling when they first meet, there is this, there's this knowing whether they say it or not. But then there's almost like this push. Well, the push and pull of the twins. All right, what is stopping me from going to the divine? I don't know if I cut them. And the reason why I do this, by the way, is I like to introduce every new deck into a reading. With the intention that it's picking up on the ongoing reading. So just tell us more. Again, we're just going to let it unfold. But there's some certainty up there. It's like sword against sword. But not in a fighting way. I have a feeling we have some, what's the word I want to use? Like not passive. Not passive. Almost like I know who I am. But be open. But stay open. And I feel that for both of them. Okay, anyway, I don't know what's taking me so long to get to the feminine. We have the hermit. Wise old soul. Right? Been through it. Seeking the light. This is the hermit. Well, I love this image because this is the hermit on a cliff. Has found that light. And now it's like the hermit sharing it with the world. Heart of Virgo. Look at that. Five swords just reversed itself right in front of us. Take it. I'll take it. The Five of Swords in the upright certainly talks about toxicity, but it's usually some type of communication. And you can see the communication seems to be like the ticket here. Maybe the lack of, and then let's say, hopefully they come together. They have to understand that, like, true communication has got to be a part of their everyday ritual. I don't know. Five of Swords in reverse. I have a feeling someone changed. Became wiser. Even understanding, like, I want to say their own tone, but I feel like the tone of their voice could be someone who, just aggressively spoke. I don't know why. What I love is when you really think of the hermit, right? This is someone who has done reflection over their life. They understand who they are. The good, the bad, the ugly. This is someone who wants, they want to live a true life. This is someone who is probably very spiritually inclined. And it is like what's the word I want to use? The accumulation of the wisdom. And I don't feel like it's just from this lifetime. And then I feel like, well, someone had to grow. Someone had to grow as it relates to the way they talk. And that might be why I felt this night like there's something about this night. Like they felt, I don't want to say aggressive, but do they want to get their point across? Yes. And then we have the feminine really within your spirituality. And I feel like, if the truth is the truth, if whatever this divine masculine is about to say is the real truth, then I feel like then you go forward. I definitely feel this is about listening to your body, listening to your intuition. That is what's going to let you know if there's truly been change. And listen, it may be both, right? We could have been together when we were younger before we knew that words could cut, but we know that now. There's even a recognition over that. That's a good thing. It's two aces. I mean, and even the five of swords, like flipping itself around right in front of us. Okay, let's keep going. I just heard a bell, like bing. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if I heard it in my head or if it was an actual bell. Someone else might have just heard a bell. And why do our guides do that? I feel like because they want us to understand, like, that we are connected. The Page of Swords. Interesting. It's like the younger queen. I'm going to call them queen and king. Um, but I want to remind you, as twin flames, like, we can go back and forth. Like, there's many times that I needed to be in my masculine energy, you know what I mean? And there's times I was in my feminine energy. So do understand that. But I feel like this is giving us, like, this is painting us a picture. And I feel like if you were together before, I feel like you had two different ideas about like how you wanted your life to be. And some of you may have started a business. Maybe you're using your voice. But I feel like inspiration led you in a different direction. And I don't know. I don't know if this person was invited or like maybe you went off to college. I do kind of feel like it's you, those that are here. It's almost like whatever I want to say went to school for. Um, let me just put it this way. I feel like something that the masculine knows about the feminine, whether because they still know you, um, or they know of your work. I feel like the one thing they would say, well, they say a lot of things, but um, is that you were goal driven. And that's a good thing. It may lead you in two different directions, but then again, something keeps making me say like don't regret that. I feel like, I feel like I have a few spiritual gurus here. Or maybe that's what they would call you. Seven of Pentacles, the tree of life. Seven of Pentacles, its first message is patience. Because you're planting seeds here. I don't know why my screen's going dark. Um, and sometimes it's about like when a seed is ready to come to harvest. And we definitely want to know about this, right? This seed, probably predestined. It's, I feel like the or the feminine is like, I feel like somewhere along the line she either said the words or thought the words, you know, almost like I know that this seed of love is already planted. So I want to put my effort over here and just know the other seed, the seed of love. Like it's almost like when I'm ready for it. So this is someone who's ambitious. Um and I feel like the divine masculine knows that. So I do kind of feel like I put off love while I was maybe getting my degree. You were growing. You were having ideas and epiphanies, and I feel like you were putting them into action. And you should be proud of that. Seven of Pentacles kind of backs up twin flame reading, you know what I mean? Like, because I feel like what's ever planted in the Seven of Pentacles, I feel like some of those seeds are predestined. But maybe even what you do in the world. Maybe you're just really good at it. Okay. What you say to that, divine masculine? So, I feel like this is saying communication comes in. I feel like it's going to depend on where the queen is at, like within her career. Because I do kind of feel it's career first. We have the high priestess. Intuition. Higher self. They may just be following their intuition. They feel the calling of the Ace of Wands. I often feel the Ace of Wands activates like heart chakras before the love even enters. It's almost like, oh, I just feel something. Or maybe they start thinking of you. All right. The sun's in reverse, but so is the moon. The masculine and the feminine. The masculine and the feminine. That's what the sun and the moon are. But the high priestess, I get this sense almost like I have to see through the dark. I have to find my way through the dark. But here's the answer. It's like your intuition will guide you. And the sun in reverse and the moon in reverse, feminine and masculine. It's actually the other way around, masculine, feminine. The sun over the are under the five of swords, mirroring the ace of wands. I get the sense where this may be energy, where you kind of are using blind faith. Maybe it won't be as clear can be. Maybe this is a test, right? To trust your intuition. And I love this coming under the hermit because there's the wisdom. All right. Oh my gosh. Look at that. This is what I'm talking about when I say a reading unfolds. Because this talks about something that's coming into your physical world. Wow. I mean, what else could it be? It's like the divine masculine knew that the feminine was following this course, following this path, and it was important to her. So much so that I almost feel, or I do feel like I chose it, maybe over you. But then again, you may have given me many reasons at the same time. You may have made my decision easier by certain actions. Um, but it's interesting because I feel like both the feminine and the masculine, let's just say, I feel like you may have had a lot of fun. And this is zero judgment. It was more about the fun and the romance and the friends and that type of thing. And now it is about you and them. I feel like they're following their intuition, right? This Ace of Pentacles coming under the Seven of Pentacles, your Tree of Life. I literally just felt like the Queen was like, okay, when I feel like it's timing for the Ace, and maybe that's what the masculine's hearing, like, feel like there's a crack in the door. Maybe I can put my foot in. Hmm. And I am making it sound like you have been together before in this lifetime, and I do feel like that for some of you. I can't help but feel that. But what about those who haven't yet? Well, I still feel the same thing. Like, here comes this energy. Here comes some communication. It's so funny. I just did a future love reading. Um, and you may want to watch it. You may want to watch it because all of a sudden I feel like I think this is part of it. I think this is part of what I was reading, and I just did it yesterday. I'll connect it. Anyways, but then before that, I did a person on your mind. I don't know why. Sometimes I feel like I got to cover all areas of love. And now it's twin flames. So, you know, and the reason why I'm thinking of the other reading is because I felt like you were meeting someone in a very unexpected way. Like you were about, like just going about your day. It felt like you were at a grocery store or some at like a convenience store. And then a conversation from a stranger strikes up, and that's that. That would be the Ace of Wands. Ignition, lit, activation, the masculine and the feminine. Here they are together, by the way. And then the Ace of Pentacles. Here it comes. Okay. So I feel like the masculine is wanting to come into the feminine's life. Um, I feel like for some, I feel like they know of your work. So again, maybe have a channel or, maybe you did a TED talk. I don't know. I just feel like I know of your work and like proud of it. Hmm. Okay. Where are we at? Feminine. Okay, feminine. What say you? I love how we got the sun and the moon together. Even if they're reversed, doesn't matter. Um, because that was the case. You weren't together or you're not together. Yet this Ace of Wands is like guiding this person through their intuition. And they're literally offering or wanting to come into your world, into your life. The Ace of Pentacles, it needs nurturing just like any other seed. But nurture it and just watch it grow. Okay. Like the feminine is like, huh? I don't know what to say. The devil, heart of Capricorn. It is temptations. Interesting. Like the devil is reaching out its hand. That may be part of why, let's say, the sun or the moon is in reverse. It may be, you know, like a period of time where I had to overcome like certain temptations, or I was just living my life in a more carefree, not really caring about anything but me, like drinking, having fun. I went through that period. Um, but again, I feel like the queen has these goals. Well, actually, I feel like you fulfilled them, or if not, then here's the ability to fulfill them. Okay. I definitely feel like this is calling for both of the twins to use their intuition here. Interesting. Okay. We have the Five of Wands. It did come in reverse, though I wasn't going to read reversals unless they came upright. And then we have the Ace of Cups. Um, Five of Swords right there reversed. Okay, that makes sense then. That the Five of Wands would also be reversed. I feel like simply someone has had a lot of growth. This Ace of Cups, hello, you know, in certain decks that says love begins. Love begins. And look at the love. Like, I don't feel like the feminine ever lost it. I don't think the masculine ever lost it. And I'm talking about even lifetimes ago. I don't feel like it's losable. You know what I mean? I feel like it will always exist no matter what, even if we're not together. It will always exist, our love. Just part of who we are. But now I feel like, okay. So there definitely feels like there was a period of time of not behaving, so to speak. And I feel like, and the person's very aware of that. They're very aware of that. I feel like they're aware that they were in their ego. But then again, it could have been both. Though it is falling under the masculine mainly. So, I hate to put it all in the masculine, and I don't want to put it all in the masculine. Because in the Five of Wands, many times we're pulled into that. It can turn into drama. Um, but then you have temptation so close to that. But here it's reversed. And love. Well, look at the aces, by the way. You have all the aces. Ace of Wands, Ace of Swords, Ace of Pentacles, Ace of Cups. You have everyone. Queen of Pentacles, my psychic detective, can be Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn. It is mirroring Capricorn. Um, but we also have Virgo here, and I feel like we had the Hierophant, but I don't see it. So anyway, Queen of Pentacles. It's interesting because this is someone whose specialty is really reading between the lines. So you can say what you want to say, but I can read the undercurrent of it. And she's very mellow. And look what she's holding, a pentacle. Right below the Ace of Pentacles, which is right below the Seven of Pentacles, which is right below the Knight of Swords, where it all began. May I say, feminine, I feel like you are in a very, or maybe when this comes about, you're in a very Zen type of energy. Like, I see no aggression. And I feel like you've learned how to be this way. But it is who you are now. Doesn't mean that you never get ticked off. It just means, like, I feel that you are very, I want to say mellow, but at the same time, I feel like hardworking. Okay, so there's that Ace of Cups. There's that Queen holding the Pentacle. So I feel like this is a yes. And let's look at the masculine. And then let's bring out the crystal vision and connect this. Even though, honestly, it's reading just like a story. Your story. And the reason why I call it a conversation is I feel like this is what's happening in the higher parts of oneself. Reachable. Hello, magician. This is the year of the magician. And when I feel like the energy of a new year begins? March, April. And there's a lot going on in the sky. So much so that I did a March forecast and an April forecast, a spiritually based one, with some placements. But wow, the magician. Justice. Or Libra. This is going to sound strange to say, but for a few of you, I feel like you're going to know exactly what I'm saying. I feel like for some of you, or a few of you, I feel like the divine masculine was worried that you did some type of a ritual which cut ties for eternity. And some of you may have, but it may not have worked. Because I do feel like all of a sudden I had this sense of like, did they cut ties? And justice in reverse is like, no. But look at this, the Eight of Swords. But I thought about it. I thought about it. Not them, you. I feel like the masculine is saying, look at that. I was just going to say that. I feel like the masculine is saying that there are situations that were going on in their lives um, that maybe had them stuck for a while because the Eight of Swords is theirs. And I feel like part of it was their worry that some of you like cut these energetic ties. Um, and I love the magician mirroring the Four of Wands. I mean, to me, the Four of Wands is true love. It's true commitment. It is making that commitment to each other. And yes, we may have made other commitments to other people, but they were the stepping stones. They were the teachers. Some were the students. This is about love, connection. And remember, what has not been cleared up until this point, you will see through them. And I have to tell you, I see it when Sam and I argue. Like I see me in him. And I'm like, oh, I get it. So just remember that. So the more that you can clear now, the better. Okay. Seven swords on the bottom of the masculine. And interesting, the tower on the bottom of the feminine. So definitely giving us a picture, nine of swords under that tower, king of wands under seven of swords. So seven of swords really is untrustworthy energy. Um, and I did for a second feel like with the magician under the devil, like, is this person being a trickster or are they being true? Well, I feel like right from the get-go, we know that. We know that they're coming with truth. Why? Because I feel like you would know. The Queen of Pentacles over here, like you can tell me whatever you want to tell me, but I'll hear the undercurrent of it. But I don't feel like there's anybody talking bullshit. I really don't. I feel like it's more about growing up, maturing, understanding. Sometimes you don't realize what you had until you lost it. And then you go through, you have other relationships, but for some reason you cannot find that fulfillment. Doesn't mean you don't love them. It just means that no matter how hard you try, you just don't feel completely fulfilled. Though I also feel, I get the sense of it's not that this has to be. Remember that. Because let's say somewhere between here and there, you meet a soulmate who fills your cup. And that may be good enough because you have these other interests also. And the only reason I'm saying that is, you know, just know that. I don't know. All right. I brought my coffee out, but mm, yucky, cold. All right. What do I want to look at? I don't even know. I think what I want to do is I want to take a line right down the middle. I don't know. I just want to start that way. Something is telling me to take a line right down the middle. So that is what I'm going to do. Someone that I used to know. So, nostalgia, happy memories, remembering the good times. This may be asking you to remember that. This means that there must have been good times. It can certainly speak of past lives. It's someone that you already know. But again, when you think of them, they bring a smile to your face. Okay? Hello, Ace of Wands again. Look at that, right under the Six of Cups. Nine of Cups, inner fulfillment and fulfillment of wishes. This came after the Eight of Cups, after emotional clarity, after saying, I'm not going to let things, situations, what was, hold me back. And I do feel like in the Nine of Cups, like, I'm pretty happy. with or without love. But Six of Wands is about to stir something within you and them. And then we have the moon in the upright. Hello, feminine. So this would make it very dreamy type energy. We just had a lunar eclipse, about a month ago? Hmm. The moon may say to some who may be asking in the Nine of Cups, like, where would this go? And the moon is saying, it's not about where it goes. It's not about the final destination. It's about the journey. That's why you have all these aces. Like, you don't want to skip. Even if you already know this person, they're not the same. You're not the same. So it is like you're getting to know them again. And each one of these aces bring something different. And I feel like, why would I want to skip that? Even where the Nine of Cups is falling, right there with the Ace of Cups below it. Ace of Cups plus the Nine of Cups, the Ten of Cups. Okay. I kind of get why I was meant to do that now. Okay, with that being said, just trying to think, is there really anything else I want to look at? I think what we'll do is just go right across. Oh my gosh. I have shuffled this deck and shuffled this deck, and I keep getting, first of all, Seven of Swords, not that, but there it is. The Knight of Pentacles and the Knight of Cups. I swear to God, I got this yesterday in future love reading. I'm telling you guys, you gotta watch it. Because I shuffle and shuffle and shuffle. And I even like sometimes I put them on my table and just mix them all up. Here they are together again. Unexpected couple fulfillment. Being ushered in by your guardian angel. Knight of Pentacles tells you I come at the right time. When the timing is right, I shall. It's funny because we're doing it across, and here is that Ace of Pentacles that this knight promises, and here is this Ace of Cups that this knight promises. So it's like they're fulfilling what they're saying. Ah, there's our Empress. There's our Empress. Five of Wands in reverse again. That's good. Let's take one more. It's interesting because the Empress has her back to the Nine of Cups, or the Knight of Cups. But I feel like it's because even the Empress doesn't expect this. But yet, I feel like the Empress is pretty happy. Doesn't mean everything in my life is perfect, but, this is someone who really allows their creativity to shine. And some of you may just be exploring that path. This is someone who, doesn't let the past harden their heart. This is someone who's remained, and it could have taken time. But at this point, when you see the Empress, this is someone who is loving and nurturing, powerful, wise, and not interested in drama. But I love that the Five of Wands is in reverse again because I feel like it's saying this doesn't include drama. Like, this isn't ego based energy. And I don't want to give false hope to anyone. So that's why I really want you to trust your intuition. Look at this, the Four of Wands, and then Judgment. Your spiritual team calling you to the present moment. They're talking about a rebirth. They're talking about signs, talking about love. Look at this. If down here also. You know, when your spiritual team gets involved in your love life, and this just may be its divine timing. I may have pushed for something earlier, tried everything, but it just wasn't the right time. Again, there could be seeds that were planted before you even came into this lifetime of certain goals that were just as important. Because I feel like there was a breakup. And I know this is not everyone, but I do kind of feel like almost like it had to happen because you wouldn't be who you are today. And that feels important. And I feel like there's definitely recognition here of the growth, even through the hard times. I feel like the Empress is clear about one thing, like, if you have drama, then I don't want you part of my life. And Judgment being the very last card, though I should bring in the romance angels, though, in a way. I don't really feel like we should. Well, I mean, that we need them. But let's go ahead and, because I did promise you, let's see what they have to say. Stay optimistic about your love life. Positive thinking and faith will bring you romance. It's like an offering. It's almost what I feel like the king was worried, or not the king, but the divine masculine was worried about. But I don't feel that. Look at this. Wow. True love. This is romance of a lifetime. This is your true love, no doubt. The road wasn't easy, but I don't feel like it was meant to be. I feel like, that, I don't know, I just feel like the feminine had other goals in mind, and love probably was always part of the plan. And there probably has been love, but I feel like this love, it's almost like I know this is the love that I'll spend the rest of my life with. So I wanted to come at a particular time. And you may have said that as a soul. Like, I want to make sure that I reach success within my life, or at least be on my way. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. And I think I'm going to let that be. I'm thinking, what else could I possibly add to this? Remember, it's not about the final destination, it's about the journey. You have all the aces, and you have the knights that bring those aces in. You have it all. You have the masculine, the feminine, you have it all. And most importantly, this is a romance of a lifetime. Judgment, I feel like, also ushering the Four of Pentacles, or the Four of Wands, the marriage card, the true commitment with true love. What more could we ask for? I love you guys. I thank you. I'll see you next time at our table. Bye bye. Wow.